An architect turned entrepreneur, Tahreem Shah blends design thinking with business strategy to create technology-driven solutions for societal challenges. Passionate about empowering communities and women, Tahreem has led ventures tackling healthcare, food security, and financial inclusion. Her work reflects a strong commitment to enabling the middle affluent class to thrive through purposeful innovation.
Before even going to who I am as a person, I would really like to kind of emphasize on what I would be speaking on today, which is designing thrivable futures. Might feel like there are a lot of jargons when you think of, okay, what does ethical innovation means, or how can leadership be connected with innovation, and how are you so probably saying that it is for the emerging markets specifically, or the middle affluent class population, right? But I feel like my overall journey for the past 7 to 8 years kind of led me to come here today and be able to write these words, or this, this title that I felt would resonate with some of the themes of thrivability. Because the platform itself has a certain purpose, a certain theme, which I have mentioned over here, and I think Michael also kind of resonated on it, where there is an intersection between people, nature, and economy. And I kind of wanted to align my journey with how the organization stands for, and can say have a ripple effect from the webinar discussion that we have today. Because one-time webinars should not just end over here, it should continue that conversation, or the uncomfortable discord of conversation beyond a seminar of 2 hours. That's personally what I feel like I am as a person. So just want to amplify that what we mean with the people perspective. Like, these are the ones who are carrying the voices, they are the agents. When we see a certain economy which has been serving us all, these are certain parts of the stakeholders which we professionally or personally deal with on a daily basis or in long term. And then of course the respect towards nature, which we wouldn't want to harm in the process that we are trying to probably gain all of this, right? So we are creating that sustainable community as we are moving forward. So now, when I say that my vision is probably taking the small steps towards impact, I would not be able to say that I have successfully been able to crack the word impact, but rather I'm still trying. And there has been some pivotal transitions in my life where, while studying architecture, how as an architect I could think beyond, say, design thinking and merge technology and business with it. And when I did that, I was able to actually think of a platform or a design beyond the functional and aesthetic needs, which kind of made me dig deeper into the urban and housing issues that eventually, I think back in 2019, when I was in my thesis year, led me to form my first social business, which I call Bharosha. If you guys search online, you would be getting a lot of videos in YouTube as well. That had a lot to do with my study of built environment in the informal economy of Bangladesh, specifically in Dhaka, the largest one. We call it Korail. And that kind of opened my path towards being an entrepreneur, and how that can be leveraged to the maximum of being an architect. Now, moving to the next part, which is where I discovered that, okay, entrepreneurship is a path where probably I can study each day, each moment, with all the problems that I'm seeing or all the issues that I'm trying to solve in a theoretical way, but let's try to execute it. So when I started doing that, I have found that technology was that tool, or digitization is that tool with which I can or will be able to execute whatever I have in my thought and would want to see in the real world, right? So that's when I just thought of bringing out one of the place that I was working and building, which is a health tech, where we were able to democratize access to quality healthcare for the MAC population, and that has been running in Bangladesh successfully. We will be digging deeper as we move forward. And finally, while I have been doing this, of course, these are like titles, these are probably what gives me bread and butter, but the path to continue and to build on and have the domino effect, we have to advocate on a daily basis as an individual or as someone who would want to be a change maker, right? So I personally believe in empowering women women in general, but also I have different communities that I'm part of, including this community where I have been trying to say on one-on-one or even through discussions, make women entrepreneurs or women or marginalized community feel empowered through their initiatives as well, which could have a financial angle to it or even just a simple, communication, discussion or personality development angle to it. Simple or complex, that's what I wanted to say. So now, why the emerging markets is because that is where I think the I wouldn't say golden pot of issues, but rather I feel like our country, our world has countries where we do have a certain amount of 4.2 billion people. They are becoming the fastest growing consumer base, right? That is the middle affluent class population. And if you see, these people are shifting from your, I wouldn't say lower class. I would say they are shifting from one category or one tier to another, where probably they're getting educated, they're earning more, they're getting more opportunities, and now they would want to have this smooth transition. Now, when there is a transition, that's when the opportunity comes, and you kind of have to catch it with how you would want to impregnated with innovative solutions, right? And that's when we don't want to talk about very difficult technology, but rather some digital platforms. For example, it was not in like one day that Facebook came into our scene, or it was not just one day when we shifted from a button phone to an iPhone, right? It was a transition, and that exactly happened when the situations were captured, right? So growth is met when there is resilience, and that's exactly where innovation thrives. So it's like the battleground now. It's where this can be nurtured. So that is why if you actually tap into this kind of populations or this kind of countries, you would be able to kind of think of problems, you will be able to think of issues, you will be able to think how when we say that we are able to think out of the box, how that can kind of come to real life, right? Like we always hear people saying, let's get creative, let's try to get innovative, let's try to think out of the box. But how exactly do you do it? So when I became part of Asia Europe Foundation, which is in Singapore, and they have trained us through this intensive workshop for a year and 3 months, sorry, for 1 month to 3 months, we were able to carry this forward in our next few years, right? And these are some of the steps which we really dug deep into to solve some of the greatest issues, not just in Bangladesh, but in South Asia and Asian contexts, be it India, Pakistan, Singapore, Indonesia, you name it, all these huge demographic, big population, but how problems can be solved and replicated in a modular way. So first, you kind of really have to address the systematic inequities that exist. You kind of have to define them. That's when you actually empathize. And first actually you have to empathize, like you have to kind of go there, talk to them, and then you actually have to define them, right? And then when you define them, you kind of like know what ideas to work on. And you are a single person at the end of the day, and you cannot work on say 10-20 ideas at the same time. But if you start with one idea, which is much needed, not a good to have, but a must have, and has an urgency and can be done in the most simplest way possible, that is what you can do and co-create with your communities, which we call prototyping. And the result that comes out of that is, say, in startup or in other terms or business terms, you call it MVP, right? The minimal viable product. But that is probably the way that you kind of see the first formation of it, right? And kind of iterate on it to make it better while your customer journey is going on. And then once you test all of this and repeat this entire process again and again, you come up with the best version of it with the years, and which will be serving the purpose that you started with. So whatever I have written over here is usually the class or the workshops that I have been taking under multiple communities. One being, say, Huawei has a Women in Tech workshop program where I have been teaching this to young girls. Bethray Institute under Tufts University has vetted this course as a 7 weeks course where I have this time completed 30 to 40 kids joining the class from all over the world, where they understand whether they would want to become entrepreneur or not, or they want to get into service first, or just learn, or even if they have a great idea, how could they roll it out immediately or have that pilot launch, right? So when all of this comes together, you will be able to transform your thinking into real actions, which I feel like I have been blessed through my education of architecture, where I have been able to think as a person who has been observant. But now when I want to execute it, my entrepreneurship skills came into it. So I just put a small case study in below, just to show you that when we started Amar Lab and grew it at the end of 3 to 4 years, we were able to have provided people with a data-driven, healthier life, where, say, expenses were reduced by 50%, and we were able to improve early detection for them by 30%. So these are some of the impact metrics we were able to come across as the journey went by, right? Now, systems thinking in practice is something that is definitely related with the design thinking. That, all right, when you are an architect, does it limit you to building boundaries? Do you just become an interior architect, or just an exterior architect, or you just become, say, system architect in some of the coding or tech companies that exist? But either way, you kind of have to make your mind think in a way where we call it systems thinking, right? So real impact happens when we recognize that challenges in emerging markets are interconnected webs, not isolated problems. So even the architecture or the building that we're trying to design, it's not non-political. There are political reasons, there are influences which are not probably having the walls and bricks, but can influence the very construction of that beautiful architecture that I probably envisioned or drew on my computer or sheet, right? So that's when I realized that all of these are actually interconnected, and how you can have that one push in the needle that can, change or continue, or kind of fix. I wouldn't say fix, but I would rather say start fixing one tier by another. So my personal journey kind of made this four aspect come in, where there was the health issue we were trying to solve, which was very much related to the finance or the capital access for the people who were trying to get the health issues sorted. At the same time, the people or the marginalized people, when we tried to work on them, maybe it was difficult for us to go to the last mile. So we kind of started with the most populated city in Bangladesh, and also the eighth populated city in the world, which was Dhaka, the capital city, where there were a lot of people. They were middle affluent people who probably could not afford the highest range of healthcare, or the lowest range, but they probably wanted to know which could be the best way to adapt and move forward, because they're like slightly educated and slightly not. So kind of studying the human behavior, and then of course the food or nutrition security support that comes within. Like, you have to live longer as a human being to even serve in the community. So I kind of gave this example with one of the ventures that I built, but similar analogy, similar study exists with my first venture, which is Bharosha, and also now the other one that I have been a co-founder of, Scalar, where probably all the expect doesn't come in, but we do have interweb of, say, how finance acts with technology, and how ethical data is related to, say, AI, the buzzword that we are all hearing, right? So just to give you guys an idea, through one of the ventures that I've built, solutions are never isolated. They're interconnected threads in the fabric of thriving communities. So once that actually comes in, and we are able to, say, probably build a product that people are using, or build a solution that is actually solving and creating the impact that we are wanting, how do I as an individual give back to the community, right? So that's when I felt like I should really highlight the fact that, and I really wouldn't want people to go around and be like, oh, feminism is this and feminism is that, because that's just probably, again, a buzzword. But it's about your inner journey of kind of understanding who you are as a person first, and then kind of understanding the problems that you are facing, both in your professional and personal life. How can you change it for the next generation, because they don't really need to go through the struggles that you went through, because our purpose is actually to make it easier as we move forward. That's where I kind of felt like, through this journey, I have been a catalyst for change. And for women, I have been there not because of like XYZ reasons, which might be a lot of people saying that, oh, you might be emotional and whatnot. Very, very quick and very easy to judge and throw it out there. But honestly speaking, from economic empowerment perspective, women reinvest their earnings into their families and communities. They're actually much more better with finances and numbers than men out there, but we probably don't tap that potential. So that kind of led me to co-found organizations organizations such as Working Women Bangladesh with my friends, at the same time be a mentor at Waydo Global, which is one of the largest female community in the world, to actually kind of understand that how I can help female-led enterprises, because there is a higher ROI in the businesses that they do, which probably have social impact alongside profit as well. Probably the vision that Thrivability community believes in as too. And of course, when this happens, there is actually a systematic change, because women leaders drive inclusive policy that benefit entire communities and not just individual stakeholders. So this is where I feel like my personal journey is still continuing, because I would definitely want to see a community where we are kind and helpful as people, not just of what the system is trying to teach us. Because if we don't break the difficult conversation, if we don't have those, we won't be able to see the change, right? So that actually means working with policies when you're in an organization, or even before going into policies, having that conversation where you're not afraid to show your vulnerability, and at the same time know what exactly or how exactly you can make it work. So on a high level, I kind of mentioned this over here, but we can definitely connect beyond this webinar, where I can go through some of the very depth of all these activities that we are doing as a person or as a community. So now I just thought that this slide is very important, because all the things that I have been saying right now kind of gets intertwined in this field, where I call it lessons from the field. Because if you don't step out there, fail and come back, or if you don't step out there or even win and come back, all this iteration that I'm probably doing with my solutions, if I don't do it with myself, then how do I actually learn and then know how to give back? That's why my favorite quote is from Thomas Edison, that I haven't failed 10,000 ways, I just knew which way worked, right? So through the Discord in such platforms such as, say, Share Your Foundation, and in Womanpreneur Asia, which is the largest woman-related entrepreneurial podcast in Asia itself, I have learned through those discussions that sustainable impact requires patient capital, cultural sensitivity, and genuine partnerships. Doesn't matter where you're working, what sort of startup or a business or a traditional business even you're building, you kind of have to break from there and understand what the current time requires, and more than what the current time requires, where are you envisioning yourself in the next 5, 10, 15, or 50 years per se? Because planning comes through that thinking and then gets executed when the time is right? So that is why I don't go by just saying myself that, oh, I got a job here, I got a job there, I have a 9 to 5, or stuff like that. I would rather go as a person who calls herself an architect by trade and a social entrepreneur by passion. And because of that, I have roles as such, where I'm a co-founder at Scalar, where we are trying to actually practice ethical data practice and a contextual data practice for businesses or CXOs in businesses who are Series A or above in startups, not just creating the next AI buzzword. And this is something we're completely bootstrapping, and have not gotten into, say, capital raising or in the excitement of fundraising, which you might be seeing in a lot of Silicon Valley situation. And at the same time, that is something that I have been trying to teach in some of the places I'm mentor for. You guys can find the organizations that I mentor in through my LinkedIn, which I will share later. My job currently is a regional advisor at Odoo. Odoo is one of the largest ERP globally. It's a Belgian company. I sit here as a regional advisor working with the Bangladesh market when they want to digitize their platform, because I have a ready-made solution and I exactly know how to tell them how or which way this solution will or will not make sense for you. Before even coming to the monetary aspect of it, you kind of need to understand whether your business needs digitization or not, right? So that is what I do on a day-to-day basis here in Dubai. And then as an entrepreneur in residence at Antler last year at the end, I had the great opportunity to meet my co-founder with whom I've been building Scalar, which is John. And he's an ex-Google guy and have worked in Google for a few years and has an experience in data engineering. But his thought process, getting him out of the very fact of coding and being in front of his computer. He's the one who's leading Scalar right now, and I'm the one who's kind of advising on how the go-to-market should be, whether that app or the first version of the app people will be taking or not. So that is where we're discussing and and taking it slow and building, because again, we want it to be sustainable, right? And during that experience of as an EIR, I kind of learned how humble people are, coming from so many different kind of backgrounds that probably I couldn't have seen if I was just sitting there in Dhaka in Bangladesh. So as an individual, I grew too as a person and became much more self-aware that, okay, this is what Tahrim wants and this is what she doesn't want. And this is, I think, the best part of, being self-aware and knowing exactly how you can give back. And I have been a global UNUSAN Youth Fellow since my building times of Bharosha back in 2019 and 20. And that is where I took the first touch point of all the other journeys that I have talked about, because that's when I met two of my greatest mentors, and they were working in Citibank NA, and one of them working in one of the, I think, largest, oh yeah, KPMG, right? They were working over there, and despite having that extremely flashy job or position, they knew that they want to create an impact, but probably they didn't know how to do it, and they became mentors at that platform and met someone like me and helped me throughout the journey to learn what should not be done more than what can be done, because what can be done can always be explored, right? So now, while I have been doing all of this, there has been collaboration, there has been scaling of from of my thought process to what I have been building, and at the same time, there is that aspect of, say, inclusivity, right? And when all of this happens, it's not an expansion of a single solution. Like, for example, before coming to Scalar, we had to fail with 5 other ideas. One idea being AI for choosing the type of clothes that I would probably want to buy from a brand. When this kind of iteration happens with your individual journey as well, you would be able to know that what could be the pathways to make you want to be part of this thrivable future, because you would be wanting technology for good at that point. You would rather deploy digital tools that amplify the human potential rather than replace the human connection, all that being scared or being in fear that, oh, AI is going to replace us and whatnot, or AI is bad, it's not helping you how to write, but it's the prompt that you give at the end of the day. Trust me, we recently had a workshop where it taught us how to even give prompt. There are startups who are actually doing work on that too. Inclusive leadership, I mean, this is something that I can't emphasize on, because at the end of the day, you're your own leader. You might be the executive of a company, but it's your proactiveness that kind of will help you to be your own leader and go to the position that you think of. It's not just those titles, right? And community driven, nothing beats co-creation. Whatever you do, you got to give back, you got to learn, you got to know that someone else is going to do it better. So your existing strength and cultural wisdom kind of builds it. At the end of the day, I am a girl from Bangladesh. I am a girl from Chittagong, which is like the port city in Bangladesh. And I'm extremely proud of it, because being there, I have come here and I've been able to have that communication. So being rooted is extremely important with your culture and the need that you have as an individual. So now how you can probably practice this is, maybe you can think about how work integrates ethics, system thinking, and inclusion for fostering thrivability. So you gotta design with purpose, you lead with inclusion, and you scale for thrivability. I would want to end my presentation with these 3 questions, where I probably would love to have known maybe what kind of background everyone is here from. I see 30 to 40 people who joined, but maybe take away these 3 questions to understand that when you think of thrivability, do you picture survival, sustainability, or something beyond? And second question being, how many of you probably have worked on a project where profit and purpose aligned, and what was the result of it? A lot of big corporations, after they come with the profit, then they think of the purpose or the, that sustainable team or partnership teams that they have, or they call it, I forgot the name, but they have a certain budget to just, do the sustainable so-called projects, because they're doing so much harm to the community, or those carbon emission tapping that they do, right? And then finally, if you had to design one small change today that could ripple across your community and system, what would it be? Does it have to be a tech product? Does it have to be a beautiful building or a beautiful facade? I don't know, but probably you guys can or will be able to do this as an individual. I would love to be able to help any individual who would want to have conversations on this or need any personal one-on-one assistance. This is my QR code for my LinkedIn. Do feel free to get connected. And also, I'm sure the Thrivability team will be sending out emails with the proper kind of information too. So that's it from my end. Thank you, everyone who joined today from different parts of the world. It's been an honor. Thank you.